On Wednesday evening, smoke billowed from the chimneys of the Sistine Chapel, indicating the election of the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. And of course, he stepped out onto the balcony and addressed the crowd. And today we have Father Stefan Hippler, who's going to be telling us all about the election of the new Pope. We had you here talking about the conclave just before it started. And I think we all thought it might take a lot longer than it did. And this was, what, in 1.5 days?
Yes, it was 1.5 days. It was the second shortest conclave we had in history. The shortest one was 1939, Pius XII, before the Second World War. They had to rush. And this time it was only 5 ballots, and we saw the Cardinal of Buenos Aires appearing as the new Pope.
Yeah. Now, why do you think there's such a big surprise around the world? I mean, news reports have been saying nobody expected someone of Latin American descent, of outside Europe, to be chosen as the new Pope.
Well, the new Pope is, first of all, South American. It's the first South American ever being a Pope. Mm-hmm. The second, he's a Jesuit. He's the first Jesuit ever being a Pope. He's only the 8th person who is elected Pope as a non-European in more than 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. And he chose the name Francis. It's the first time that a Pope chooses the name Francis.
This is the first time, because we were talking just now about why there isn't, let's say, a Roman numeral attached to it. Usually you'd have Pope John Paul II or Benedict XVI, and he's just Pope Francis. And this is because he's the first in history.
Yes, that is correct. He is the first Francis in history. Yeah.
And why do you think he chose the name Francis?
Well, look into the history. Francis of Assisi was a son of a very rich trader. And he had a dream that he has to support and rescue the church. And so he gave everything away, and he tried to convince the church to go more into poverty and to preach the gospel of the unconditional love of God to everybody. Yeah. And at that time, the church was in a mess. It was a lot of corruption. It was a lot of trouble. And if you now look into our times, the church is once again into trouble. And the Curia isn't in trouble. The Curia is actually in a mess. And somebody has to clean up. Somebody has to offer a new beginning. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I think the name Francis is the name of a program he wants to approach.
Yeah. And tell me about, I mean, a lot of people have also been saying that they hope that he would revolutionize the church. Is there a lot expected of him, and what do you think his presence as Pope will do for the Catholic Church?
Well, he is a very humble person. If you look where he's coming from, Buenos Aires, there are a lot of poor people. He's actually called the Cardinal of the Poor. Oh, yeah? He is visiting the poor, the sick, the prisoners, people living with HIV/AIDS. So he is a very humble person. He is living in a small little flat. He's cooking himself. Wow. He's actually using the Buenos Aires My City bus instead of having a chauffeur and a big car. So he's a very humble person, and the people hope that he can really, really bring new spirit to the church. Yeah.
And you were saying earlier on that he actually did show the people that he's going to be really engaging with them, with the way that he addressed them when he stepped out of the balcony.
Oh, yes. When he stepped out of the balcony, he said, Buonasera, good evening. And then he asked for prayer for Benedict XVI, his predecessor. And then he asked the people to pray that God blesses him before he blesses the crowd. Yeah. I think that's very, very humble. Yeah.
Now, everybody always wants to know a little bit about the Pope's past. What was his past like? Yes, you say he's a very humble man, comes from very humble beginnings, but what is his life before this?
Well, he was born as the son of an Italian immigrant to Argentina, and his father was a normal worker. And he was studying in Argentina, in Chile, and in Germany. I just discovered we shared the same university in Germany. Really? Yes, I also studied there. So it's quite a connection. And as I mentioned before, he was always somebody who reached out for the poor. He likes to have social topics high on the agenda, and not so much all this kind of administration like in the Curia.
So do you think overall the Catholic world, all 1.2 billion followers of the Catholic faith, are happy with their Pope?
Well, if you have seen on TV, I mean, people were really excited to see a Pope, a non-European Pope. I mean, when you also saw the South Americans. Yes. I mean, they celebrated the whole night away. And I think he is, on one hand, a very modern person when it comes to topics of justice and peace. But he's very conservative when it comes to moral theology. I guess the Holy Spirit must work a little bit on that. But at the end of the day, he is a good mix. He's neither conservative nor progressive. He is a good mix, and I think we can expect great things from him.
Well, Father Stefan, thank you very, very much for your insights. We really appreciate it, Father Stefan Hippler of the Catholic Church, telling us all about the election of the new Pope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. I knew I'd get that wrong sometime. But, of course, right now, let's talk about what's been happening. I mean, it's a cricket season on the sporting field, and kids out there are playing crazy, crazy sports, getting dirty. But, of course, for moms out there, there is a solution for you to keep their clothes clean so that they can have their fun and you can have your peace of mind. Take a look.